So, for the past few weeks, we've taken a deep dive into what are the sources of our pain, our emotional pain. And I think that most of us would agree that there is no escaping that life can be painful. Raise your hand if something's going on in your life right now that's painful. Okay, so the majority of us raised our hands. What should that tell us? That life can be painful. We don't get to control all the things around us. We face difficult situations for ourselves. We face difficult situations for family members and friends. But often, we're, when we're experiencing pain, we try to minimize our feelings about it so we can appear more spiritual and spiritually evolved. Raise your hand if you're someone who tries to make sure the rest of the world knows you got it under control when they ask you. Yes, exactly. So, yes, two hands, both feet. I'm all in. I would have jumped in the pool if it was here. Um, but we all know that that's part of the struggle, and especially being in unity. Because we know and we say all thoughts are prayers, and we're always praying, so I better have positive thoughts, which means don't tell my friends or my family that life sucks, right? Because then they're going to look at me and say, that's not very positive, Nancy. Is that a very positive affirmation? No, because I don't feel very positive in this moment. But the reality is, in that process, there's also this tendency we have for self shaming. And we do that when we aren't able to rise above a situation and we think we should have been able to. So now we've already kind of hid the feelings, and now we're shaming ourselves because we're better than this. I should know better, especially me. I'm a minister, I should know better. But the reality is, we're all human, and minimizing and denying our feelings and self shaming actually brings no peace to our life. And it's really a waste of our time. So, the question I'm hoping we consider today is, what if we could find a better way to meet every single moment, every single struggle exactly as it is, and still allow peace to slowly and gently emerge within us? What if we could do that? So there are seasons in our life, right? We've heard the songs that talk about that, when peace may seem unattainable, unreachable, everything around us is tumbling. Maybe how that kid felt walking down this, road to a job that's 7 hours. He's going to need to walk for 7 hours. It may have felt far away in that moment. And even when we do all the right things like meditate and pray and affirm and read good books, and even with all those things, we might still find that we're having emotional pain and maybe even physical pain. But pain shows up in a variety of ways: grief, disappointment, illness, change, betrayals, loneliness, anxiety. And sometimes we're in pain, emotional pain, just because we don't have the answers yet. But I could look around this room and tell you how many of you I know have been in dark places and have been on the other side now. So we all know it's a cycle, and we should count on the fact that that cycle will lead us to peace, because know. We know we will end up moving through it. Sometimes in those moments, we ask, can I really experience peace when I'm in the worst nightmare of my life? Well, from a unity perspective, peace is not something we need to search for outside of ourselves. It's always a divine quality that's present within us. So finding peace simply means we have to become quiet and still and open to really allow peace to arise within our awareness. We're not going anywhere to find it. So you can tell yourself, I'm going to check myself in somewhere. I'm going to go take a trip, or I'm going to go on vacation. Your pain's going with you. You packed it when you said you were on your way. And we know we're going to get there, and it's still going to be the same circumstances until we actually allow ourselves to deal with them. We cannot force the process. It's something we simply have to allow. Just like when the sun is shining behind the clouds, the peace of spirit remains present even when our emotions temporarily cover it from our view. How many of you felt less peaceful this week with 5 days of cloudiness? How many of you thought you lived in Seattle this week? Right? So we're spoiled here. We're used to sunshine. We're used to being cheered up every day. Look at the sun. Look at the flowers. Oh, it's so lovely out. Every day this week was what? What? Yes, I'm grateful for the rain, but what? Where do I live right now? And so when we're in pain and it's like that outside, what do? I'm just to stay in, cover my head, right? So you can almost tell your mood by how you greet the day. That's how we are. But when we're hurting, it can feel as though we are separate from life, from love, from God, even maybe disconnected from ourselves. But that is when, and this makes me think of a Michael Hilson song for some reason. But sorry, Michael, but it does remind me of a song that spirit is present in our pain. And we say one presence, one power in the universe and in our lives, but even in our pain. And that presence is always available, just waiting to be called forth because it's a living spirit within us. And all we have to do is find it. Just find it within. Peace can begin when we remember that pain is part of our human experience. But it isn't the whole truth of who we are. It's only a part of our human experience. Because beneath that pain is divine life, beneath that pain is wisdom, and beneath that pain is some divine presence within us just waiting to be acknowledged. If we move the fear out of the way and we move the anxiousness out of the way and we get ourselves super quiet, there's only one thing left: our divine existence. And that in itself is enough peace for an entire day. So, our spiritual practice can't be to deny pain, but to remember that we are more than this experience that we're having. I'm a spiritual being. I'm moving through my human moment, and God moves within me as that happens. But one of the key lessons for us is understanding the importance of sacred honesty. And I talked about something similar a few weeks ago about the importance of being honest, but I want to really get into the part of the denial. Because sometimes we think being spiritual means being positive all the time. That is not true. We cannot be positive all the time. And true spirituality is not denial. So that means being honest at all times. Do you want to talk right now? Nope, I don't. Just tell the truth. Be honest. Because it takes courage for us to bring our whole self into the light. And that includes shining light on our anger, shining light on our sadness, shining light on our confusion, even the pain. And remember, I said before, we can never heal what we hide. We heal what we're willing to hold with compassion. We cannot hide anything and expect it to heal. Sacred honesty gives us permission to stop performing peace and start practicing it. It says we get in the habit of learning to say, "This is where I am today," without making any excuses for it and without thinking it's our permanent identity. This is where I am today. And follow that up with, "This too shall pass." Because that line saves me every day. The world often defines peace as the moment when everything in our lives is resolved, or it's comfortable, or it's predictable, or it's easy. But spiritual peace is far deeper than any circumstance we experience. It is that realization that having that calm center within us means it can never be destroyed by any circumstance outside of us. We may not be able to control everything that happens around us, but we can learn to return to the still point. It doesn't mean we ignore pain or injustice or grief or loss. I know, watch the news and you could convince yourself every day there's no reason to look for peace. It's not a peaceful world. But that is outside of you. You are the one looking at that news. How are you seeing it? From that calm place within you, or from the anger and the fear and the doubt and the worry? It's the same when we look at other people in our life. Are we looking at them with the fear for them, the anger, the worry? Are we looking at them from that calmest place within us and saying to ourselves, all is well, they are more than capable? All I have to do, and Jan and I had this conversation this morning, all we have to do is love them and let them. And that's a hard reality, but it is the most peaceful path for both parties. We just need to breathe and pause and listen and affirm there's a peace in me that's stronger than this moment, and there's a light in me that never goes out. When we're in the silence, we do not need to solve anything. We just need to make room for a deeper knowing to come forth. Sometimes the answer is not a plan. You know, we're always planning. I'll do this, then that'll happen, then I'll do this, that'll happen. But sometimes it's just being present with all of it, just being present to it. And sometimes peace comes as just one big sigh, one clear breath. And we're reminded we're not alone within ourselves. It's also important that we understand that pain can lead us down the path of our own transformation. So while the majority of us would never intentionally choose pain as our teacher, we need to remember that pain can become a doorway for us to gain a much deeper awareness and understanding of ourselves and our life. Unity reminds us our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs will shape our experiences. But that doesn't mean blaming ourselves for our experiences, blaming ourselves because we're suffering. It means reclaiming our spiritual power. What truth can I practice here? What thought will lead me toward peace? What belief will open me toward healing? And transformation begins with a shift in our consciousness. We may not be able to change the facts of what we're facing, but we can darn well choose not to let our pain that we're dealing with now define our future. We can let wisdom and compassion and spiritual strength have a much greater voice. Because in our pain, we actually may discover compassion for ourselves, learn to listen to our bodies, honor our emotions, speak more kindly to ourselves. And we can learn to become less attached to control and more open to grace, allowing our divine light to illuminate what needs healing and light the path for us. Finding peace in our pain is rarely a single moment. It needs to become a daily practice for us. And we need to consider things like breathing consciously, not just because our body thinks it needs air, but because we're mindful that we're breathing. Sitting in the silence, praying in an affirmative way, trusting people to support us, and resting when we're weary. We need to stop rushing our healing, practice staying present in the moment, and be open and receptive to having divine guidance, not ego guidance, not intellectual guidance. Remembering at all times the truth of who we are, and remembering that peace is always possible in our pain. Let's review our lessons for today. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Finding peace in our pain requires us to remember that pain is part of our journey, but it's not our whole truth. That true spirituality is not denial, it's bringing ourselves into the light. That we can't always control what happens, but we can return to that still point within. And that pain can lead us to transformation because it's a doorway to deeper awareness. And the affirmation is, I'm finding peace in my pain. And the quote is from Danon Katagiri. You cannot find any peace by escaping from human pain and suffering. You have to find peace and harmony right in the midst of human pain, because that's the purpose of spiritual life. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, I passed it. Thank you. Let's say the affirmation together. I am finding peace in my pain. That was not painful. I appreciate it. All right, let's just pause for a moment and take this in. So, God, we say thank you for the opportunity to always be reminded that within us there is a light, there is guidance, there is wisdom, and all we have to do is trust that we will be led through our pain, no matter when that occurs, to our highest good, if we just trust that the pain can open the door to the lesson we need. And so it is. Amen.